Okay, today I'm going to be talking about microevolution, which is the change in gene or allele frequency over a few generations. So microevolution can occur in 4 different ways: mutation, gene flow, genetic drift, and natural selection. So I'm just going to be explaining those. Okay, so the first one is mutation, which are new genes that are randomly introduced to the environment, and they can either be good or bad. Okay, as you can see, this is the current population, right? A mix of like red and blue, some different phenotypes. And a mutation, it's a new gene that's randomly introduced to the population, and it can either be good or bad. Maybe it can help them or maybe it doesn't help them. They're usually bad though. So for example, some new genes, these yellow ones, enter the current population, and yeah, so they might survive, they might not, and yeah, that's a mutation. For example, a good mutation could be maybe the new gene that, like, the species is a darker color, enters the population, and then that gene continues because it actually helps them survive, like that. Okay, now the second one is gene flow, which is some of the population moving location, which is like immigration and emigration. Which immigration is like people coming in, or like some of the population or new species entering the population. And then emigration is some of the species leaving their current population and moving to a different location. And this is also known as like the founder effect, which eventually creates this gene flow, eventually creates a smaller gene pool. So for example, some of these, they leave and move to a different location, starting another population in another location, and this gene pool becomes smaller and maybe loses a little bit of variation, possibly. Okay, next we have genetic drift, which is a random event that occurs and eliminates some of the population, and it's usually bad because it usually reduces variation. And this is regardless of like the fitness or like what kind of advantages or disadvantages one of the species might have. And an example of this is like war with humans. Like, it doesn't really matter how fit you are, like a bomb's gonna kill you, or maybe like a natural disaster or something like a fire or something like that just kills whatever's there by chance. And this is also known as the bottleneck effect, which is, this also results in like reduction in variation, just like due to a random event. So for example, with this population, maybe like a fire occurs or something, or like an earthquake, and by chance these maybe like a lot of the blues by random chance get killed off, so that creates less blues, and now there's less variation within the population. Okay, the last one is natural selection, and this is like the difference in survival and reproduction based on how well the phenotype is adapted to its environment. And natural selection is usually good for the population because it means the most fit of the whole population survive. So as time goes on, over generations, the species or population becomes more adapted to the environment, so they can actually survive. So for example, if the red phenotype here maybe is a bright skin color, for example, and it's easier for predators to find them, as time goes on, the blue will survive because they're darker skinned, but the red get killed off. So as time goes on, the current population becomes more fit, and so that's why it's good for the population. So that is macroevolution, which is the change in gene or allele frequency over time, and that's how it occurs in those 4 different ways: mutations, gene flow, genetic drift, and natural selection.